All right, Cowboys Nation, welcome back to another episode of Doc Talk here with Dr. Boothby of Orthopedic and Sports Medicine Institute in Fort Worth, Texas. How you doing today, Doc?
Great, man. Great. Hope you had a great weekend. It was Mother's Day weekend. So, hey to all the mothers out there, and thank you for all that you do for all of us.
Indeed. Happy Mother's Day. Belated Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. One thing I told you last time we spoke is that I just had a feeling the Cowboys would take a player or two that had injury concerns. It almost always happens.
For sure.
And the Cowboys did that with linebacker Damone Clark in the fifth round with the 176th overall pick. Now, part of the reason, Doc, why he fell was because of his medical check at the combine. It came back
Right.
that it showed he had a spinal herniated disc,
Yeah.
and he underwent spinal fusion. Now,
Yep.
early projections show that he may miss the entire season, but I'm really curious to know because they have some optimism about him returning. If you can tell us a little bit more about this injury in regards to timeline, the chance of re-injuring it, can he get back to performing like he was prior to his injury, and what would have happened if it went unnoticed?
Sure. So, lot to kind of unpack there.
Yeah.
I guess I'll start with just disc herniation in general. I mean, what's going on there is, at each of our spinal levels, and it can happen both in the neck, cervical, or thoracic or lumbar area. In each of our spinal levels, we have a disc that is actually between the bony parts in our back. So the discs go between what we call vertebral bodies, and sometimes when there's a lot of pressure, force that goes between the bony parts, that disc can actually kind of squirt out. And so, I liken it to people like a jelly donut. If you take a jelly donut and you squeeze it down this way, the jelly starts to, squirt out. And that jelly squirting out is the disc herniation. And the problem is not with the actual disc. The problem is what the disc herniation pushes against. And in our spine, we have these nerve roots that pop out of the spine at each of our spinal levels, and that disc herniation pushes or can push against the nerve root, and so patients can get both pain at the area of the disc herniation as well as where that nerve goes, whether it's down their arm if it's up in their neck, or whether it's in their leg if it's down in their lower back. So, these can be really intense. Disc herniations, I'm sure I'm not telling anybody something they don't know for somebody that's had one, but they can be really intensely painful. Often do require a surgical intervention, where the disc herniation, the actual material that's pushing against the nerve root, is removed. And sometimes, especially in contact athletes, the neurosurgeon or orthopedic surgeon will require kind of bone stabilization around the herniation, and that's the fusion concept,
Okay.
right? So the bone gets fused above and below the herniation to kind of stabilize that disc so that it doesn't happen again. um, in terms of return to play, it's somewhat of a broad window, and the reason is because the bone has to heal back together, and that fusion has to be kind of firm and tight around the disc herniation before you can allow contact, or else it would slow down or risk not healing at the bony level, which would be lousy for everybody. That window is anywhere from 6 to 12 months for a contact athlete. And the problem with that is I just said 6 months, which is here, and 12 months,
Yeah.
which is way down here. There's a big window, obviously. It's not, hey, 6 or 7 months. It's a 6 to 12 month deal. And so I think that there is some good optimism in terms of, hey, if everything rolls out just perfect, and these are elite athletes getting elite level of care, and we do get bony union or bony fusion, then yeah, maybe you're looking at kind of a mid-season deal, starting sports specific activities, sometime in September, say, and kind of a return before the end of the year. But everything's got to go just right at that point, and there may be some delay there. And it may be the entire year if he's not progressing, how they want to see him progressing.
Well, it's here. I'm guessing this is a good thing here. He said that it wasn't something that was bothering him during the season. It's something they just happened to catch. I would imagine, if it was worse off, maybe it's for sure thing he's out for the entire season. But
Yeah,
is it a bonus that it was something that it really wasn't an issue until they caught it?
yeah. I think you're right there, in one sense, in terms of, if the disc has been irritating the nerve root for a long time, before it's taken care of, that nerve root takes longer to heal itself. And so his symptoms may kind of continue longer. Whereas if it's something that wasn't, was just bothering him intermittently, then his actual symptoms, how he's feeling, may get better quicker. Now, at the end of the day, with the fusion, the bottom line is it's a mechanical thing. It has to fuse. The
Mm.
bone has to fuse together before you can allow them to go back and have a contact, play a contact sport. So that we're a little bit restricted in terms of it's not just his symptoms. It's you've got to wait for the bone to fuse, or else again you're putting him at increased risk.
To wrap up the conversation on Damone Clark, we've got Dr. Boothby here of Orthopedic and Sports Medicine Institute. If they didn't catch this, how dangerous could this have been for him moving forward playing a contact sport?
Sure. So, I mean, one would think that at the level that he was having it, where it wasn't super symptomatic for him playing, one would think that if it wasn't picked up, it would have started to become more symptomatic. And, it wouldn't have been uber dangerous for him if the disc had been pushing on the nerve root, because remember, that's different than his spinal cord. Okay. And so the spinal cord itself, when something pushes on the spinal cord, that can be dangerous. But when the disc is pushing on one of the peripheral nerves, other than it hurting like crazy and giving him a lot of symptoms, it's not as dangerous. If it's left untreated when he has those symptoms, then the concern is that those symptoms can become permanent. And that's what
Oh,
we're obviously trying to avoid. If he had something like spinal stenosis, where it was really narrow around the spinal cord, something like that, that lends players to a much higher risk of a catastrophic injury, right? Like a paralysis or something like that. But I don't think that's the case in this instance. We're dealing with a disc herniation. We're not dealing with necessarily stenosis around the spinal cord itself, which is obviously a ton better news for him and a ton better prognosis for him coming back to play.
if I can recall, that kind of reminds me of the Tony Romo situation where he played, I think, with the herniated disc the last
Back,
back half of his career. He just had to keep getting shots and dealing with the pain.
that's it. And he was dealing with the symptoms,
Yeah.
and the shots create basically an anti-inflammatory shot, so it tries to decrease the size of the disc herniation and decrease the amount of pressure of the disc herniation on the nerve root. But as long as they can control that and make those symptoms better, theoretically he can continue to play, and not see long-term side effects from that.
You made me feel pretty good about Damone Clark now, so I
There you go.
appreciate
All
that, Doc. I think
right.
you'll make a lot of fans feel a lot better about Damone moving forward. Now,
Excellent.
all NFL rookies, right? They have a massive adjustment when they're coming into the NFL in regards to their schedule. They play 12 games in college and they have to play 17 now. It keeps going
Yeah,
up. Next thing you know, it'll be 18.
sure.
And it's a physical game. It's really tough and demands a lot on your body. What are some ways that these rookies can prepare themselves coming into the league to avoid or prevent some of these injuries their first few years as a professional athlete?
Sure. It's a great question, and I think something that has to be thought about for each of these rookies is the transition from, college ball, where they're playing a quote unquote football season, and then their off season is college, right?
Yeah.
And they're going to hit the weight room, and there's going to be off season programs, and there's going to be different types of workouts. But now they're in a full-time job, right? Like this is it. This is their job. It's a 24-hour a day, 7-day a week type of deal. And so I think that the best advice, people in the medical profession and athletic trainers and strength coaches can give them is to really not just focus on the stronger, faster, quicker type of stuff, the lifting programs that are real heavy and real bulky. A lot of times, and, love him or hate him, Tom Brady has done this incredibly well over his career in terms of, pliability, stretching, core strengthening, diet, nutrition. things like this, sleep patterns, things like that, that really take the elite athlete to the next level, and potentially, decrease the percentages of having an overuse injury or an injury take place. And I don't think it's ever possible to, with football being such a contact sport, to limit the risk of injury at all. But what
Right.
you're trying to do is just decrease the risk of that, the percentages, maybe working a little bit more in your favor. So, these younger athletes, I think if they really focus on diet, nutrition, stretching, pliability, things, working in things like yoga and stuff like that, that you might never think with a
Yeah.
football player, right? Those are very, opposite things, but can really be an improvement in their overall flexibility and decreasing risks of injury.
So young athletes, go get TB12, okay,
That's it. Okay?
and apply it to your whole regimen that you're going to be doing.
That's it.
TB12.
There's a lot of truth there, and there's a reason he's going to be, I guess, almost 46 and playing at the level that he's at, and
Unbelievable.
except for the catastrophic, obviously the ACL injury. I mean, really been relatively, knock on woods, injury free for the majority of his career.
Yeah, it's unbelievable to think he's mid-40s and still
Yeah,
playing NFL football in 2022. It's nuts.
shocking,
It's nuts.
absolutely shocking.
All right, man. This has been awesome, very informative. I'm definitely going to play this back, Cowboys Nation. I urge you guys to do as well. Really good stuff in here in regards to Damone Clark and how to kind of help your, as a young athlete coming into the NFL. Hey, Doc, can you let them know where they can find any more information on you or Orthopedic and Sports Medicine Institute?
Sure thing. Come and look us up if you've got any sort of ailment, knee, shoulder, something that's been nagging. You can get us easily at the Orthopedic and Sports Medicine Institute. We're at osmifw.com, and you can get us at 817-529-1900. So would love to meet you guys in person and help out however we could. We've got a great team here, lots of docs, lots of people helping out. We do our own physical therapy, which is really top notch. So would love to help anybody that's out there listening.
All right, there you have it. Episode 3 of Doc Talk with Dr. Boothby. Thank you, sir.
Take care, y'all.